Hey there friends, Bobby here today. Hey folks, today we're going to be adjusting valves on a 4-cylinder Honda engine. We'll be working on an 01 model Honda Prelude, but this instructional video will pretty much be useful for just about any Honda 4-cylinder engine. Okay, now first of all, we do have the valve cover taken off the engine because you'll need to do that to actually access the adjustment points for the valves. Let's go over here to our whiteboard and I will show you quickly a couple things that you'll need to know. Now, firing order on most Hondas is 1, 3, 4, 2, and depending on whatever direction the engine is facing in the engine bay on a Honda, and pretty much a lot of other 4-cylinder cars also, the engine always rotates the same way the wheels would turn. Okay, so this one here, actually our cam gears in front of the engine is near the left front strut tower, and these cams, this engine turns in a counterclockwise motion. Okay, now on your cam gear, this one has 2 cams, okay, and you will see either an arrow facing up on each one or the word up stamped into the cam gear when you have it on top dead center number 1 cylinder. Okay, so you want to position the 2 cam gears to make the adjustment on number 1 cylinder. Now let me show you another tool that you'll need. You'll need to get you a long extension and a 19mm socket to go right into the end of the crank on the crank bolt, and you'll have to muscle this engine around to adjust all these valves. So right now we're set on number 1 cylinder, so we're going to go ahead and check the clearance on that cylinder. Okay, let's get started here. A couple tools that you're going to need to adjust the valves on your engine. You'll definitely need some feeler gauges, and you'll have to look on the label underneath the hood or service manual to figure out what the specification is for your car. On this particular one, it's 7/1000 of an inch on the intake valves, which is on the back side where the intake manifold is. This cam here controls all the intake valves. This side here is the exhaust. The spec on it is 0.08 of an inch, and this is controls all your exhaust valves. Okay, now you'll need a flat tip screwdriver and either a wrench, preferably like a box end offset wrench, to loosen the little locking nuts on the adjusters, or for this particular model, these adjusters are way down in here and you can't really get a wrench in here. So I made this little tool here, which is just a socket welded to a wrench, and we can break the lock nut loose with that and make our adjustment down through the center. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and check number 1 cylinder and see if we need to make any adjustments. I got this camera right here over top of the engine. I'm going to show you these adjusters on this thing. I'm pointing with my screwdriver here to one of the adjusters of the exhaust valve, and you'll see the lock nut and then the little screw adjuster in the center of it. Hopefully you'll be able to see that. Same thing on this cylinder right here. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and grab the feeler gauges and show you how you would actually check the clearance. You'll come here on the back side of the cam, okay, on the other side, and you will take your feeler gauge and slide it right in between the camshaft and the little rocker. Okay, and I'll see if I get it. Okay, right now I'm sliding in there and I can actually see it. I don't know if you can see it on this side. It's coming through, and I got a little bit of, it's a little snug, so we know that the clearance is there and it's not too excessive. Okay, and we're going to check this other exhaust valve right here, and this feels good too. Got just a little bit of drag on the feeler gauge. Okay, so there's no need to adjust this number 1 cylinder's exhaust valves. Let's go ahead and try the intake valves. Let's go ahead and use our 7/1000 feeler gauge and slide it underneath the intake side. Okay, now this side will be going from this direction, and I just now slid that feeler gauge in between that cam lobe and that little tappet, and it feels very loose. Okay, so we definitely could probably adjust up on that one a little bit. Same thing on this one. I mean, it just pretty much just fell right in there. Okay, so we'll make an adjustment on the intake valves on number 1 cylinder, and then we'll move on to the next. All right, we're going to go ahead and start adjusting one of these intake valves here. I know it's going to be a little difficult to actually see what I'm doing, but I've got my screwdriver on the adjuster. I've got my little tool here I made to break the lock nut loose here, and I'm going to go ahead and break one of them loose. So we've got it loose. We've got our screwdriver here. Take our feeler gauge, go ahead and slide it into place here. Hang on just a second. Alright, so I feel the clearance. I'm wiggling, moving it back and forth also easily. And then I'm actually turning the screwdriver clockwise until I get some drag. Okay? And that feels pretty good there. So I'm going to hold my screwdriver and lock the lock nut back down. Okay? So that's good right there. Now we'll just take this off. We're going to check it. I'm going to slide it underneath there again. And that feels pretty good right there. Okay? So let's go ahead and move it on over to the other intake valve. And I'll tell you what, folks, these here engines are quite the difficult ones to adjust the valves on, these VTECs. A little bit more difficult than doing it on the older engines. And so we'll go ahead and break this one loose too. We've broken that one loose. We'll go ahead and slide our feeler gauge into place here. We feel that it just slid right into place. And so we want to just make a slight adjustment until we get just a little bit of drag, okay? And I think we're good right there. So we're going to go and lock this down, just like we did the other one. And then we will double check these and then move on to the next cylinder. Now, number 1 cylinder fully adjusted. What I'm going to do now is rotate the engine counterclockwise, and remember the way that the wheels turn on the car, okay? So it'll be counterclockwise on this engine here. I'm going to rotate it 90 degrees, okay? Now what I'm doing is I'm looking up here. I can't really show you, but I'm looking up here at the cam gear, and I'm going to watch for these 2 marks to come straight up and down, okay? So let's go ahead and I'll show you on the whiteboard exactly what I'm doing in just a second. So let's rotate it right on around, and that looks about it right there. So we'll stop. So now number 3 cylinder is ready to adjust. I'll show you on the whiteboard. Let me explain that just a little bit better. What I was doing was turning the engine until the cam gears moved 90 degrees, okay? You may actually, remember it's 2-to-1 ratio with the crankshaft, so you're going to have to move the crankshaft further than 90 degrees to get the cam gears to move 90 degrees. Remember, that's the object. So we're moving this up mark until it's actually facing right here, okay? And this one here is going, you know, right here. And then that's when you adjust number 3 cylinder, okay? And you can use the same technique that I just showed you adjusting number 1. And when you're through with number 3 cylinder, go ahead and turn it 90 degrees again until this mark and this mark come all the way back up to the top, okay? And when you do that, number 4 cylinder is ready to adjust. After number 4 is ready to adjust, turn the engine again until the cam gears move another 90 degrees, and then at that point the up marks would be, let's see, 1, 2, they'll be actually over here, and you'll have you'll be able to line up a mark right here with a mark right here to do number 2 cylinder. So friends, I hope you found the video helpful, and don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time. Take care.